So WandaVision is over and everything is worse now. I know I'm late to the party discussing the show, but I absolutely love this show from start to finish, and this is coming from a casual fan of the MCU. Although my childhood love for superheroes did stem from cartoon TV shows. When talking about the actual Marvel/DC movies though, I'm more of a casual watcher. I mainly watch Marvel and DC movies with my dad, because he's a massive superhero movie fan, and used to read superhero comics when he was younger. He doesn't understand the fight for which is better since he likes both, and honestly, same. From 2017 onwards, me, my sister and dad will watch every new superhero film at the cinema, repeatedly rewatching them later in our household. Infinity War though, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've seen this film. My dad thought, he still thinks, it was the best thing since sliced bread. I can't even watch Infinity War anymore, like even a second of it I refuse.
I'm out. You think I'm not watching this!
My interest in Marvel movies was slowly dwindling though. With superhero movie after superhero movie, I was getting tired of it. By the time Endgame came out, I wasn't completely interested, and I think that's why I really didn't enjoy that movie at all. Despite that, I was still looking forward to WandaVision because I've always liked Wanda and Vision, as well as their dynamic. And this show delivered for me, because we got to see more of their relationship and the love they have for each other, which is so beautiful, and I'm not even the biggest fan of romance. Arguably, WandaVision is the best thing Marvel has released in a while. I suppose because it's so different from anything Marvel has created in the past, and it reignited my interest in it, even if just by a little. But this video isn't a review on WandaVision. I've been wanting to talk about the theme of escapism, even though it's a completely obvious one. Without thinking about its ties to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's a story about trauma and grief, and how by not facing it properly causes more harm than good. Escapism is something we all use to a certain degree. I'm sure you already know what escapism is, but just in case you don't know, escapism is an escape from real life. If you want a more official description, the definition from Wikipedia states escapism as a mental diversion from unpleasant or boring aspects of daily life, typically through activities involving imagination. Escapism has many forms: travelling, sleeping, socialising, alcohol and drugs. Even writing fanfiction is a form of escapism, which, hey, I guess that's kind of what Wanda did. She made her own personal alternative universe. Apart from the fact it was in the real world, using real people. Basically, it can be anything that helps you escape from reality. And like with anything in life, it's something that should be used in moderation, making escapism an easily dangerous thing if used excessively. Digital escapism is probably the most common known and used form of escapism. This show is the first time I've seen digital escapism portrayed in such a way. I could be wrong though. When thinking of other media that has conveyed escapism, I don't know why, but Bridge to Terabithia is the movie that first came to mind when I was thinking of escapism. Although the movie isn't necessarily about escapism, the main characters do use it with their imagination to escape to the magical world of Terabithia. Which, wow, that movie was incredibly heavy to watch, especially as a kid. There are plenty of movies with the theme of escapism in mind, but most often media escapism is for our own usage of escapism, more so than for the characters. WandaVision is also escapism for the viewer, which makes this whole discussion kind of meta, I guess. Wanda's love of sitcoms is something we see begin from a very early age that remain throughout her life. I think most of our love for something comes from an introduction to it at a young age from a family member or a friend, although this isn't always the case. For Wanda, her parents introduced her to sitcoms, and they would use it to distract their kids from the horrors surrounding them, providing them with some comfort because it's all they could do. Sitcoms from that moment have become linked to the memories of time spent with loved ones, something Wanda evidently treasures.
Because family is forever.
It's something she wishes to have, a happy, loving family. And whether it's to recreate those lost memories or to have a close family that's so often depicted in sitcom, it's become her escapism, a dream she wants so desperately to become reality. As Wanda is someone who hasn't been able to properly grieve in her life, she doesn't really know how to handle emotional baggage in a healthy way. It wasn't until she came back from the snap, which had left the world devastated, and just as the world began to come to terms with it, it was slapped right back into disorientation when everyone who was erased from it returned. It was the first time in Wanda's life when she was truly alone, and she was forced to stop and face her loss and pass the turmoil head on. All her life she was pushed to keep moving forward no matter what, as it was detrimental to her survival, so she never learned how to deal with these problems. And she was also refused the right to give Vision a proper funeral, in turn not allowing her to come to terms with his death. It all quickly became too much to handle at once. And very much like in reality, when you bottle up your emotions, it's bound to explode one day and could even cause direct harm at anyone who is nearby to witness that outburst. Because avoiding your issues doesn't get rid of them, it only helps build them up, making it more difficult to manage. The showrunner Jack Schreifer stated the initial pitch for WandaVision was centered around the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And very clearly this is presented throughout the show. With the main basis of the show transparent, it links well with the themes of escapism. Escapism is often used as a coping mechanism within depressed individuals. Media escapism is usually recommended as a good tool to distract from the overwhelming, obsessive thoughts. However, therapists suggest solely using escapism as a coping strategy can be incredibly harmful, as it can worsen depressive symptoms and can become an addiction. Amanda Pearl, psychotherapist, says, "Escapism is a way of attempting to make negative feelings disappear without working through the necessary steps in order to come to relief through mental resolution. It's a false economy, a quick fix, a crutch, a placebo. Sadly, like all addictions, it will only reinforce your feelings of anxiety further, whilst you seek out new ways to cope. And exactly like all addictions, such coping strategies will begin to unravel, break down, and ultimately fail." As seen in the show, Wanda's grief overwhelmed her, so she used the only coping mechanism she had learned in life. Mixed with the fact that she has powers that are linked with her emotions, it combined into something that would protect her and let her live out the fantasy she longed for. But cracks started to appear, as not addressing the problem and covering it up will not make it go away. And so we witness this when Wanda is visibly depressed and still clings on tight to her escapist fantasy. It was only when she was forcibly made to confront the truth, confront the fact that she was holding the people of Westview hostage, as well as have the support of others, that she was able to return back to reality. Her first step in healing, as healing is a process. I've seen the sentiment that fiction should be purely used as escapist entertainment, where unlike reality, fiction is a place where real-world issues aren't present, and life is presented as good and happy. And I heavily disagree with that. Fiction is a reflection of reality, as fiction is stories written by humans who typically put in their own life experience into the stories. Life can be good and happy, and although the world can be a dark and horrible place, it's not bad to depict that in fiction. We shouldn't avoid that. Might seem random I'm mentioning this here, but it wasn't until someone in my life mentioned, "You watch a lot of sad stuff," that I realised, oh wow, I do, I wonder why. And this might sound weird, but most often it's my ideal form of escapism. I guess I used to project my sadness onto the characters. My escapism was being in the shoes of the character, rather than fulfilling my own fantasy. I used the feelings that character expressed to distance myself from my own pain. Also because I was quite bad at expressing my own feelings without feeling like I was annoying people. And it's still a thing I'm working on, but thanks to therapy, I'm not as reliant on escapism as I used to be. I, of course, still use it, as it does help me, but it's not the only coping mechanism I use anymore. And even if not for the sake of relatability, it's good to discuss real-world issues in fiction. But stating that fiction shouldn't portray real life seems to me anyway a funny statement to make. This show became something special to me. I think what makes it so much more impactful for me is that Wanda chose to face reality, even though the family she had and the love they had for each other was very real.
Boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom.
Yeah, I know technically Vision is a memory, like Tidus from Final Fantasy. But Memory Vision is a visible manifestation of her love for him, and she chose to let go of it and not let her trauma and grief consume her, because it was causing harm on others, and deep down she knew it was hurting her too. She finally accepted her loss, and I found it incredibly touching that she was able to overcome that with the help of others, as well as from her own faith in herself. I was worried we would see her villainized for her trauma. I'm sort of tired of seeing that narrative, so it was refreshing to see her not become a villain. Although you may disagree with me entirely and think Wanda is Vision, which is fine, you can do that. I personally do not think she is, and I don't think she's a hero either, even though she is technically a superhero. Going back to escapism though, I don't want the ultimate takeaway to be that escapism is a bad thing. I think I made this clear in the video, but I want to further emphasise it here. It's something you need to find balance for, but don't overthink it either, otherwise it sort of defeats the purpose of escapism. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Comment your ideal form of escapism. I'm interested to know.